Welcome to the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino. This week I'm joined by Mif, Paddy and James as we once again cover all things Celtic. Mif, no Celtic to talk of over the last week or so, still doing the international thing. How's your international break been?
It's been good. I enjoyed I didn't actually enjoy the game. It was fairly turgid, but I enjoyed the result and I enjoyed the euphoria of a late winner. But as usual with Clark, he's almost immediately tempered Ben Doak's performance by saying that he might not play in a must-win game. So, you know, I thought he should have gone after the Euros personally. I know this is the Celtic Exchange, not the Scotland Exchange. I thought he should have went after the Euros because it felt like we had a platform and we didn't produce decent enough performances fitting of the occasion. For that, I think it was good enough to go. I actually don't really have an issue with the performances in the Nations League. I think they've actually performed with credit. Scotland should have got something for Croatia and Portugal away, but didn't. But I just don't want us to go on another track of where we build for a qualifying campaign, get to a major tournament and just do absolutely nothing. So I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the result, and I just can't wait for Celtic to come back, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Ben Doak, talented boy, eh? I've seen some chat about Celtic should have done more to keep a hold of this kid. What can you do? Liverpool came calling, and I think Klopp personally had a lot to do with that. But it's just the way it goes, and he's shown his talents.
What I would say is I wouldn't be against him coming back, you know, because apparently he was up for transfer.
Alone?
I get shut down on this. I said we should have taken him on loan, and people are, you don't go back and all that stuff, developing other people's players. He's a real talent, and if he makes your side better, even for one campaign, I think it'd have been an idea.
I think a direct, rapid winger is always... You can see there's still work in progress there, a bit rough round the edges with final product, but I'd say most wingers in the world really struggle with that. So I think there's enough raw materials there to be working with, definitely.
James Mif, like all of us, delighted that there's no more internationals now till March. The next break kicks in around about Paddy's Day, 17th of March, so 4 months between now and then. The week before the break is the round of 16 in this season's Champions League. Will Celtic be there?
Yes.
Round of 16?
Yes.
Oh.
Maybe even round of 8.
Do you feel good about how we're looking in Europe?
Santa Maria.
I think when it comes to knockout stuff, you know, we've got to get there, by the way, whether it's by, playoffs or automatic. We're not done yet. There's work to be done to get there. But I think no one wants to come to Parkhead now. You know, Rodgers will have things set up in such a professional manner that, will be hard to beat, and we're just much better organised despite Dortmund, or maybe because of Dortmund. We're just much better organised. They're more mature as a team. I think they can get into the knockout stages and go on a wee bit, yeah.
As a lot of folk know, we've got this new studio set up, and I realised my mic was all wrong, so I was trying to speak in here while I look at you. And I'm thinking of going all Freddie Mercury. Wembley 85 and just holding it like this, so this might work a bit better. Paddy, your own international break, what's been the highlight?
That right there.
Brilliant.
Freddie Mercury at Wembley. I think really, really good performance from Scotland. I know Clark's come out and said he actually didn't think they'd done enough. And I think that, when we look at it, that's a very, very difficult team to break down. I think that they've been everywhere, Croatia, lately. They've had a really successful term, and probably coming to the other side of that. I heard the fact that Scotland out of the last 16, the last 9 games have been teams that have been above them, ranked higher than them as well. So taking that into consideration, I think Clark's done well for them. I know a lot of people are frustrated about the comments in Ben Doak, but I do think there is a bit of sense in it as well. I look at someone like Kieran Tierney. I think Kieran Tierney was overused as a footballer, and you look at the injuries he's getting now. I think
he wasn't brought in too early.
No, but I think you could say the same for if Doak goes into playing in these bigger games at this moment in time. He's playing 46 games in the Championship. He's playing cup games. It's a big season for a young player, and you don't want to go and waste it. I can see the sense in it, but ultimately I also look at other players around the world. I look at Lamine Yamal and what he done for Spain in the summer, but I do think there's differences, and I do think
I don't think we've got the luxury of that choice.
True, but you've also got sports science that's saying do not burn this guy out as well.
Scientist, but it seems almost ideological from Clark rather than scientific.
I think he's probably been clever. I do think he'll start the night. I know we're recording when the game's going to be on, but I do think he's been clever about it as well. It's just not to heap too much pressure on him as well.
I think what would help if he wouldn't continually pick other players who were being subjected to on a
Just his pals, his
game by
favourites.
game basis. I get you need to have that club mentality, but some of the players are so substandard, and we do have alternatives there.
Yeah.
That I think that's a frustration more than it just being down to the isolated case of Doak. It's more his unwillingness to change it up. But listen, ultimately, given how the campaign for the Nations League started, the position that Scotland's in is it. You would have took that something to play for in the last game.
Just in its simplest form, you've got something to play for, play your best players. That's what I would be. We'll check in a second. The team will be out soon, so we can check live on air. Exciting. I'll give you a quick whiz of some of the highlights of some of the players that have been away on international duty. We've got Arne Engels on screen just now. He started. I'll be a bit surprised to see it, but great news. He started both of Belgium's games against Israel and Italy. They did lose both of them, 1-0 defeats. Their manager, you'll be aware of him, Paddy, Tedesco, who was the former Leipzig manager. Jacket and a shaky peg by all accounts. The favourite to replace him?
Philippe
Clement. He's a break.
Because of the amount of money Rangers fans have put on it.
It's just a nonsense. So anyway, things not going great for Belgium in general, but good for Arne Engels to get his latest couple of starts. Liam Scales, you'll have clocked it last night, sent off at nothing each. Ireland were going pretty well against England. Scales gets his second yellow. His first yellow was a bit daft, wasn't it? To get caught up in a booting the ball away type thing. Picks up his second yellow and England got to 5-0. So he won't be feeling great about himself, but he was doing all right up until then. That's the frustration. In Japan, Daiz Maeda and Reo Hatate both come off the bench in their 4-0 win over Indonesia. Kyogo was an unused sub on the day. They play China tonight. I think it's about midnight our time, and the suggestions are that Kyogo might start that one, so that'd be good to see. Yeah. The other one, you might have seen the highlights of it, Leo Palma. You see him?
Did not.
Came off the bench in a Hanich to score both goals for Honduras in a 2-0 win against Mexico. It's a Nations League quarter-final two-legged affair over there, so they're 2-0 up.
Did you see what position he was playing? Just out of interest.
Sub, and then not sub.
Can't he score for the bench?
Sub.
No, did he come on as a 10? I suppose
He was coming in off the left. Both these goals he came in off the left.
Did you see what happened to the manager? No. After it, the Mexico manager, he got attacked off his own fans.
Oh, really?
Yeah, split his head open.
Jeez, bit mad out there.
Can't lose 2-0 there.
Anyway, second leg's in a couple of days, so we'll see if Palma gets a start. I suppose it leads me on to the kind of first question of the day. He's obviously got talent. He's obviously a guy who, on occasion, and we've seen it, with our own eyes at Celtic, can turn it on. But is there a future for him? I don't know if you're as patient as I am on Palma. What do you think?
Undoubtedly a talented player, but I think his style of play just doesn't suit our style of play. I think it's a culture clash more than anything else.
Just a 10 instead of a winger, and probably a very good 10.
Do you think he's not, Brendan Rodgers has clearly set out guys that first and foremost work particularly hard, defend from the front, whether it's Kyogo, Maeda and Kuhn, and then all the way back. And it's easy just to call him lazy. I don't think he's lazy, but he's not got the energy of a Maeda, and few do.
No, but I don't. I mean, work rate's not something I would level against him. On that. I think he works hard when he's on the park, and he has done so.
He signposts his moves,
but he's just he's pretty easy to read, and he isn't as nimble of foot as our other wingers. So if you can read what he's got to do, sometimes with somebody like Maeda, you know what he's got to do, but you can't catch him.
Too slow. Eh?
If you were coaching the Waynes against Palma, would you say just show him inside? He'll just go inside anyway, boys, and just take that approach.
Well, you can see that defenders do that with him. It's almost like telegraphed any time that he does it. But I would love nothing more than him to play a major part, because the way things are shaping up, we were talking before we come on just about how brutal the schedule is. So you would like to think that there's a couple of games in there for him to, even if it is off the bench, come on and nick us a goal and play a part. So we're going to need almost every member of this squad in the coming months.
Yeah, Paddy, what do you think? Has he got a future?
I don't think he does. I think we're looking at a player that's quite comfortable coming off the bench. He's coming up against a full-back that's been running about ragged for an hour, maybe 70 minutes with Daiz and Maeda on them, and you're still seeing him struggling. And I think that I do think there is a level of pace in Scotland that's a bit different. It's a bit more unique, and I think you make a good point in terms of what he's came from playing in South America. Not too aware of how it is in the Cypriot League as well, but I just think that there's definite levels that he needs to up. I do think there's the technique's there. I do. I think that there is a good player there. I think he's a good striker of the ball as well. But for me, it's the pace. He's just not that 1 yard ahead of defenders that we need. Does he have enough time to play in the 10? I think it's too frantic in the Scottish League, to be honest. And
we're not going to change to that.
No, I know, but like that. What I'm meaning is when you look at what we play up against, most of the time backs to the wall. And imagining him in that position, I just don't think he's quick enough.
I see the 10. The modern game is changing and all that stuff, and I don't really. There's not many 10s around. Actually, in a bit of a depressing way, teams don't allow for a maverick player. You don't really have that now. Everyone's got to be hard working first and foremost. And Celtic under Rodgers, even like Tom Rogic, talented as he is and skillful, and you'd see him as a guy who certainly could play the 10. He had a real shift to do in the midfield, and other guys like him. And I just don't think there's allowance for players like that anymore.
And why you never really see him finish 90 minutes as well. You know, that's the other reason behind it. And I think that's when you look at the likes of Matt O'Reilly, who would be that player that would go into that position. His tracking back as well was incredible. Palmer's not going to do that for 90 minutes.
I don't think so, but we'll see. It'll certainly have been given a boost, and I agree with Mif. I think we'll catch this in the last part of the show, but there's a real relentless run of fixtures between now and the turn of the year, and I think most guys, even the ones in the periphery, will be given their chance to show what they can do, and it's up to Palmer and others to take that chance. I've mentioned the Japanese lads and what they're doing at this moment in time. It's a wee bit early in the show for listeners' questions, but San Fran Celtic, good friend of the show, he did ask the question, and it's no easy answer, Pad. I know you tried to answer it on Twitter last night. He says, very simply, if you can only keep one of Kyogo, Reo Hatate or Daisen Maeda, who are you keeping and why?
Kyogo.
Easy. Is that?
Oh, it's simple for me. I know.
Daisen for me.
Daisen.
Fair. And Maeda, and Hatate's been incredible this season as well. But
and has just had kind of in his stride.
Aye, but Kyogo has brought us so much.
Dare I say, Hatate's form, or more recent form, is the reason why we've probably not missed Matt O'Reilly so much, and probably the reason why the man on the screen there's getting a wee bit more time to settle in, because Hatate's took a hell of a lot of responsibility.
But which you take one of those three players out, and which of them's a disaster to your season?
To lose.
Aye. It's Kyogo.
Is it Kyogo just because we don't have any backup strikers at this moment in time?
Yeah.
So taking the cover away, just in terms of the talent, who would you be loath to lose the
Still
most?
Still Kyogo. I mean, I love Daisen. I suppose for a Rodgers team, Daisen is just perfect because of the effort and the press and all that stuff. But it's still Kyogo for me.
It must be like Christmas comes early for Rodgers, just because of the squad that we already had,
And the mentality in that squad.
that he knew, right, if I can get them to work my way, then there are a lot of attributes in those three players particularly that suit his teams.
You talk about if we lost Kyogo, we'd be really struggling up top. I think if you lose Maeda, you'd be really struggling very quickly.
I think
we're a bit light in those areas, and I think
there's a direct correlation between the team's form and Maeda missing. It drops off a cliff when he's not there.
Yeah, Paddy, when I asked the question, you were bang straight into Kyogo without a shadow of a doubt. What would be your key reasons why he's the main man for you?
I just think that he's a finished article. I understand that there's definitely last season he took the foot off the gas a bit, probably adapting to a new system. But I generally think he could walk into any team. I really, really do. I think when you see the importance of the goals that he's scored and some of the difficult games that he's guided us through when we've been at half a first team at points under Ange in the first season, and he just popped up with the crucial goals for us. And I know obviously Giakoumakis came in for the final third of the season, but Kyogo's goals kept us in and reach of Rangers in that first season. Think back to the game against Hibs in the cup final as well. He's just in that balance between playing with us, or he could easily be playing anywhere else, in my opinion, in a top league.
By the way, just in the Leipzig game, he was absolutely brilliant.
He's massive. He's massive to the press. He really is. I just think he's a finished article. I really do.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, I know it never came to anything, but the fact that Man City were linked with him, it tells you he's at that elite level. There's only certain players that could go and play with such a side, and I think Kyogo's definitely one of them. So he's 29 just now. It was quite unusual to hear him getting his call up, because he's not played for Japan for over a year. I think it was October 2023, and there's some chat about the manager. I keep getting a bit fed up with the manager because he badmouths Scottish football and then kind of backtracks on it and different things. But he's basically said words to the effect of he's seen how effective and how important Kyogo is to Celtic in Europe. And I think obviously I mentioned that I was watching Japan. I was in Japan to watch, not specifically to watch them play Australia. I was there for other things, but I did go to that game. And Kyogo was nowhere near it, but they've got such a talented front line. Yeah. And I think it's testament to him at all that he's now featuring. But it's kind of last chance saloon in terms of his international aspirations at 29.
I think so, and it is tough with that. The talent you laid out there the other week that he's got in front of him, but he's different. He's not just a central striker. It's the movement on him as well, and I think that's where it ties in with Maeda as much as anything else. The two of them with the movement they've got. So last chance saloon, probably when a footballer gets to that age, you're kind of there. But he's definitely got the talent to help them progress. It'll be interesting to see if he starts tonight right enough.
You mentioned there about the talent that's in front of him, but also the talent around him. I think if you put him in a team that's going to create chances and score goals, Japan are a fairly dynamic team.
Yeah.
He complements that so well because he's willing to put the work in, but also he's willing to continually make those runs in a game, and that's what sets him apart for me. His movement is just exceptional.
Breaking news: Ben Doak starts.
Yeah.
Bad news: Grant Hanley also starts.
Oh dear.
And Lyndon Dykes also starts. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But it's
Clark Ballman.
It's the right move. Everyone wants to see that. It's a kind of last chance saloon in terms of this section, and I think folks want to see what a guy like Ben Doak can do. So good luck to him. Tony Ralston, more games for Scotland than Celtic, I think, this season.
I thought Tony Ralston was particularly good.
I thought he played
I thought
excellent.
he done really well. And then I seen that he was, I think it was online, somebody retweeted something that he only got a 5 in the paper. Like I think sometimes
out of
people
5?
sometimes people are quite they prejudge Ralston a bit just because he does look a bit rustic, shall we say?
An Aberdeen fan. They're all going off their head about Nicky Devlin. I mean, he's been playing in that position for how long now? He's been doing well.
Anyway, back on track, lads. My fault for taking us off track.
Right.
Last guy to cover. He didn't go away on international duty, nor has he since he arrived at Celtic. But Nicholas Kuhn has made a fair bit of noise in terms of what he's been doing on the park. I was digging into something for an article I wrote last week, and when he arrived at Celtic, he said at that moment in time in January he was keen to kick on in terms of his international aspirations. The question's since been put to Julian Nagelsmann, the national team manager, and he was asked about a few different players at the same time, but quote unquote, he said Kuhn's a good player with a lot of desire. He's someone we're keeping an eye on. That in itself, Paddy, is a boost to know that your national team are looking, at what you're doing, and it's just a real incentive to give us more across the second half of the campaign.
I think if we go back to that performance, I'd sit and talk about it for the rest of the hour, to be honest. It was a real head turner across the globe when you look at obviously what the Japan manager said as well. Everyone will have taken note of Nicholas Kuhn's performance that night, and I think it's no shock that the rumours started to come out after it about teams sniffing about him already. He's had an incredible start to the season. Does he get into a German side on a frequent basis? He would need to stay fit. He would need to stay fit, and I think that's been the big question about Nicholas Kuhn. I don't see why not. I really don't. I think that performance against Leipzig was massive for him.
At least he be an option off the bench for them for now.
Absolutely.
What an option to bring off.
Absolutely.
You think he's good enough for that level?
I think so, aye. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's tearing apart the second top team in Germany, there's no way that doesn't get noticed, and then clearly, has been noticed. So I think he's there, but needs more consistency.
I've to laugh, but scouts are watching him. Or have you got a telly? Do you know what I mean? Of course you are bloody watching. I don't know, but it's a nonsense, man. Like, the Brentford scout was sitting getting a couple of cans, and geez, look, check that boy out. He's just beat that boy every time he's went to him. He stuck one in the top corner. He scored 2 minutes later. Where's my notepad? You know what I mean? It's not exactly rocket science.
I know where you're coming from.
I don't know if I do understand your beef.
No, but it's like
who is it you're upset at right now?
No, but of course he's got to get like teams. Like obviously, agents will chuck things out and teams will state an interest in things like that. Absolutely. MD eyes can see he's a good player.
But it's the size of the victory. That's the thing, though. I know anyone with eyes can see it, but not a lot of people are watching the Scottish League. That's the thing.
No, but they're watching the Champions League. That's my point. Most folk would have been sitting watching the telly, either watching some British team if they had an interest in British football, and a fair portion of that would have been watching Celtic that night, because Celtic Leipzig, it was a game that would have been regarded as probably quite close.
We're heading for the break soon, and you can just calm down.
No, I'm not having it. I hate that absolute
easy.
nonsense. It's so cheap.
Paddy's, we round things up on the international stuff for part one of the show. Your final thoughts on all of that?
I've never seen him so heated.
Oh, he's lively. He's caught in traffic earlier on. He's got him. Broadridge.
Anger. That taxi driver that slowed down for the red light. That's killed me.
Paddy, final thoughts?
I think just happy to see the back of it. I'm not a huge fan. I did watch the game on Friday. Again, I just think it's a complete shambles. You're logging into YouTube to watch a Scotland game. I think the national broadcasters should have a word, to be honest, that they can't put that on for people.
It's another nonsense.
Oh, big time. They'll be really happy with that performance. I think good news is that from the sounds of it, we're getting all our players hopefully back unscathed, touch wood for tonight as well, and just cracking on. I think obviously we're going to touch on it. It's a big run into the end of the year, and we're in good shape, and I just want to continue that.
Did we see Matt O'Reilly be Celtic tapping?
I did.
Aye.
Oh, aye. But where were they?
Dubai.
Dubai, I'm assuming.
Was it him, Jamesy Forrest,
Cal.
Cal McGregor?
McGowan.
Who?
Welsh.
Oh, McGowan.
McGowan.
Well,
McGowan. Aye.
Stephen McGowan for the Daily Mail.
Aye,
They're doing a bit of
aye.
training.
Forgot to see
Stephen
that.
Welsh. It was good to see. Great to see Matt O'Reilly getting back to it, and good to see him still pals with the boys. So as I said, 4 months break. We're now here till Paddy's Day, give or take. So it's all things Celtic from now on, and we'll look forward to that. If you're watching the Celtic Exchange right now on YouTube, we want to bring you up to speed on a few changes regarding how we're going to be doing things there moving forward. As of this week, if you're a paying member on our YouTube channel, then you'll always get early access to the weekly show on a Monday night, with everyone else then having to wait until a Tuesday before the general release. Similarly, all of our special episodes, whether that's things like the Battle to Save Celtic series or interviews with people like Martin O'Neill or various other Celtic figures, they'll also now be released to channel members 24 hours in advance as one of the perks of your subscription, with non-subscribers again having to wait that little bit longer for those episodes. Finally, a further advantage of channel membership includes the ability to make live comments on the pre- and post-match broadcasts that we put out for every Celtic game. To enjoy all of these benefits from less than £1 a week, and to join the likes of Ronnie Glavin, Graham Strain, Saoirse McCann, Davy Gregg in showing your support for the Celtic Exchange, then head to the Celtic Exchange homepage here on YouTube and click join to get started. OK, let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at some interesting listeners' questions. Welcome back, folks. This week we reached out to some of our followers on Twitter and Blue Sky. You on Blue Sky yet?
No.
We're on Blue Sky. You on Blue Sky?
Aye.
Aye, no bother. So we set up there just the other day. I think there seems to be a match. Do you know what Blue Sky is?
No.
You got
You
got
know.
Twitter?
Aye.
Aye.
All over Twitter.
It's like the old Twitter, and that means you don't need to hang about in the current Twitter, which is good.
Oh, there's a load of nonsense.
The
on
cesspit.
that. Oh, isn't it?
So
It's brilliant.
We've jumped across. There was a bit of a mass exodus over the last 5 days. There's just a whole Celtic following just kind of jumped across there. So we've jumped on the bandwagon. We've set up there. Just search for us on Blue Sky. You still get your Bebo account? You still in there?
I had a Bebo account. I don't know if it's still active.
Fringy United.
Anyway, so we put out a post on Twitter and Blue Sky this week to ask listeners for their questions, and we've got a number to work through. As always, if you'd like us to cover any of your questions on a future episode, I'll let you know exactly how you can do so at the end of this section. But to start, question 1, this comes from the Bard's Bard on Blue Sky. Don't know. Question 1, where does Alistair Johnson rank in terms of right backs that we've had this century? And Tyrone Boy replied with a list of some of the main contenders. So apart from Alistair Johnson, you get Jeremy Frimpong, Jackie McNamara, Mikael Lustig, Tom Boyd, Andy Hinkle, and Josip Juranovic. James, your initial response to that?
Top 3, yeah. Jackie was obviously a great player. Yeah, I just like his whole style, like how combative he is. He's got a real passion for football, first and foremost, and then Celtic since he's been here. There was a wee clip, I don't know if you saw it this morning, came out from Canadian national team, and it's just him, going through his kind of growth as a international footballer, and then starting with Celtic and all that stuff. He just seems like a great guy to have in the squad, I'm a huge fan, and he started adding goals to his game as well. So yeah, I think from that quick list you read out there, top 3. Frimpong obviously has gone on to big things, but I don't think Frimpong is much of a right back because he plays so attacking.
Yeah.
He can defend, but not as well as Johnson. But, a massive talent, probably going to go for 40 odd million in the summer. So, it's probably the 3 of Jackie Mack, Alistair Johnson, and Jeremy Frimpong.
In that order?
I'm not ready to do orders yet.
How far back we go?
As far as
24 years.
So the turn of the century.
Turn of the century.
Tom Boyd just makes it in.
Well, and you can't forget just how good Boyd was for us at a fairly barren period. But McNamara for me was, exceptional. But could I've got a left field one.
I go.
I got.
Oh,
I know.
Do you know what?
Aye.
Pause up, right? I've given you the list there from Tyrone Boy. He put a gat on it, and I've made an
Copying
exec
error.
call and taken a gat out.
Away.
Not an error. I
Away.
didn't see him as a right back. So apologies to Tyrone boy. And fair
Pravda.
play.
There's a wee bit in it. The news is what I tell you the news is.
Tino makes the news. He is the news.
Tyrone boy, just send your complaint
But
to
that
customer
argument is the one I've
services.
just made for.
He's
for
also
Frimpong,
customer services as well. He's doing your
And it won't
complaint
get
as well.
listened to. Straight into the trash.
So I've censored that man
Right.
unfairly. So you can have a get if you want.
Right, just because of that era and a lot of chats being going about around, you know, performances in Europe, it's that era that is the benchmark of that because of the quality that we played and the teams that we faced up against. Still think there's a wee bit of disrespect to Strachan in that, but that was more a team rather than
Talent.
You want Paul Till for him?
individuals.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that's what I mean.
Naylor.
Left back.
But for me, McNamara, I got Juranovic. I just loved Juranovic because he was part of that rebuild for nothing, and you know, Angie's first season and everything that it brought with it. But I would actually say, arguably, in Johnson, we now have a better player than Juranovic, in my opinion.
Interesting to hear both you lads have got him in your top three, certainly. A get in your top three? Does he make it?
At the expense of Tom Boyd, due to his overly biased commentary in Celtic TV.
You might be hearing some of Tom Boyd later in the show as we do the
Sorry,
mystery
Tom.
goal. Paddy Bob, yourself, where do you think AJ ranks?
Side ankle first for me.
I pulled that one out.
I know.
Andre Blackman?
Andre Blackman and
Tyler Blackett as well.
Tyler Blackett. Remember he got brought on and then took off
Aye.
in a European
The
game.
ultimate insult.
Dino, my good friend who you know, the Badger, he had earmarked Yanko as a
Boy's a player.
player.
He went
Yep.
early.
Yep, went early.
Aye. We've all done it.
Much to my joy.
Gamboa as
There's
well.
a-
Remember him?
Oh, Gamboa.
Christian.
There's who else? The Space Cowboy, Moritz Bauer.
Oh, aye.
Big Bauer.
There's
Long,
so many.
long throw, man.
So
He used to
many.
shell him in the box, didn't he? Long throw expert.
That's what he could.
Paddy, is Alistair Johnson in your top three?
I would say so, aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Where I don't think he's above what Jackie McNamara brought to Celtic yet.
You say, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Do you think he's going to potentially be the best of a pretty illustrious list?
It's 26.
If we
Perfect
keep him,
time.
if we keep him, that's going to be the big thing because there will be teams looking at him. 50 caps for Canada
Already.
absolutely brilliant. Aye, he's a great player and definitely worthy of a top three place, 100%.
The question of whether we keep him or not is the big one, but he certainly looks like he really enjoys life at Celtic, doesn't he?
Oh, big time. I think he gives everything. I think he's fell in love with the club. But I've heard that too many times, Tino. I've heard it too many times.
We've
I
heard
know,
before.
I know. Can I pin you in your 1, 2, 3 in order? Just quickly as we round this one off.
Jackie Johnson, Frimpong.
Jackie McNamara, Alistair Johnson, Jeremy Frimpong.
McNamara got Johnson.
I think I would go the same with Mif.
Yeah, so McNamara and Johnson and everybody's list.
Bear,
Good to
bear
see.
in mind, I was part of a supporters club called the DT Regatta Supporters Club.
And by the way,
Founder member.
One of them, aye. Can't forget that.
a guy used to get some stick.
I don't know.
He used to get some stick. I thought he was absolutely
It's
fantastic.
also one of those ones you sing for Wigfield Saturday night.
Did he again?
There you go.
Nice. Okay, we'll move on to question 2. Thanks to the Bard's Bard for that question. Our first ever question on Blue Sky. Look it up later on, you'll see what it is.
Jeez, oh, I'm lost.
Question 2 is from Robbie on Twitter, at Robbie Boxing. Robbie says, 2 left-footed Celtic midfielders, Callum McGregor or John Collins. Who do you prefer?
Oh, away.
John
I'm
Collins.
out. I'm
John Collins is one of the most naturally talented footballers we've had in the last 50 years.
Oh.
John Collins.
What
was
a
up there.
No, for debate.
Oh, no, nowhere near
JC.
it. Nowhere near it.
Get the two of them in and see who does the most sit-ups. That's the only way you sort it out. Only way you sort it out.
What a talent.
Oh, JC was. Everybody goes on about McStay carried Celtic. The load was equally as heavy in John Collins.
Yeah.
What a player!
While you're having a think, although I think you've made up your mind, James, Robbie says, just to kind of follow up on the question, he says Collins has far less trophies and he's less industrious, or was less industrious as a player, but he's far more inventive and talented, especially in the final third. And he was a hell of a player, Paddy. You know, just a real creative, a real talent, and it's a pretty good question in terms of the lefties.
Fun fact, John Collins. First ever player to wear Preddies.
Preddies, aye.
Yes.
Yeah. First goal scored with Preddies.
He done an interview recently.
Was
didn't
that
he?
not the free kick? Was it? No,
Yeah.
it was a free kick.
It was the no Celtic fans at Ibrox game.
Aye, the lockout game.
Lockout.
Colin Scott.
Aye.
Colin Scott, is
No,
it?
it was called,
It was like
he
a
was the Rangers
sub-goalie,
keeper.
aye.
2 first names.
Very true.
Says a lot.
the two boys here, Paddy, were straight in. Oh, John Collins, all excited and all that. Are you the same?
I think Collins was exceptional. I really do. And I think that we've got to kind of look at the likes of the way McStay and McGregor are spoken about. That would be the argument for me. But I know that obviously the question is about the two left feet. I would have to say Collins probably just gets it for me. And I think what we've seen with Callum McGregor is that those 3 seasons under Dyla were probably the one, and it would be the same with Scott Brown, that maybe just dragged him down a little bit, just in terms of competition in the league, trophies won in that time as well, and the performances in Europe weren't great. And I know that that's the very early stages for Callum McGregor, but what we then got to see from him when Rodgers came in and the level he upped it to it's just been incredible, and it's consistent from Callum McGregor.
I actually think he went to another level under Ange. I think that was the kind of. Yeah. I know he was very much a contributor to Rodgers' first tenure, but I think it was that spell under Ange when he was the captain. You know, I think he really took it on after that. As far as Collins goes, obviously I'm of a certain vintage, so you know John Collins is a big hero of mine. But it should also be stated. He moved to Celtic for less money than what was offered by Rangers when he moved for Hibs. And Murray or Rangers tried to sign him another twice after that. And with money, no option, and he said no twice.
Do you know, I remember the very first time I seen John Collins, and he was playing at the Tenant Sixes. And I remember my dad said to us, look out for the Hibs boy number 10. Boy's a player, all that stuff. And lo and behold, he came to Celtic not long after that. But I think everyone knew from a young age that John Collins was a serious talent. And you're right, it was part of pretty grim times. What did he get? He got the Scottish Cup in 95. Is that about it?
What's quite tantalising about it as well is Collins stayed, before moving in the Bosman, he stayed and played a season under Burns with Di Canio and and he was absolutely phenomenal. Did they not subsequently go into Monaco and play in the Champions League final?
I don't know about final.
To get to the final, was it semi-finals? They got quite, because they put Man United at Old Trafford.
We talk, we've asked a hypothetical, and we talk about how competitive Celtic's current midfield is. If John Collins is around right now, he walks into it, doesn't he? He breezes in.
I think that's true of most teams in the current day.
Talented guy.
There's one thing I would say in Callum McGregor's defence: as he moved to a 6 from a more 8 and a more attacking role, he's not playing as much free-flowing football. He's more the organiser and he's the captain. He's all those things. And that stops you being such an eye-catching footballer like John Collins was, because you're doing all the hard, dirty work, So it's maybe a wee bit unfair.
I would agree with you on that. And I think for me, the bit with McGregor is that he started to see that forward role click in more important games. I think back to the Bayern Munich game, he scored the equaliser in, and then the goal he scored against Zenit. He was really getting into brilliant positions, and a lot of that aided by how well Stuart Armstrong was playing at the time as well. But it's almost as if it was taken away from him. But it was almost as if he was told, you need to dig in because this is going to be a tough season. And Ange is the one that brought him into that, and I think absolutely right to do so.
And benefited from it.
Just there'll be younger listeners, if we have them, thinking how could you say that about John Collins? That is no detriment to Callum McGregor.
Yeah, 100%.
That you regard John Collins as a better player than him, because even if you look at John Collins' Scotland record, he was absolutely pivotal for a very good Scotland team as well. What a player.
You've got to love his character in that game against Brazil, opening game of the 1998 World Cup.
He was made for that.
10th of June 1998. To start with, remember the very start of the game, the camera goes down the line, everyone's a bag of nerves, John Collins winks at the camera.
Excellent.
Oh, he was made for that.
Penalty comes, scores a goal. I don't know if it was, did they've named the shot? Absolute class. I thought he was a great player.
There's no way to say when he was stepping up to take the penalty, he said the wife better be taping this. Scoring against Brazil.
One of the worst own goals ever, that game as well for Tom Boyd.
Speaking of Tom Boyd, what can he do? A great question from Robbie, thanks for that one. It's a couple of interesting comments. Question 3 comes from Quintessential, good friend of the show on Twitter. He says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate is this bear in his assessment? And I then need to read out the screen grab that he sent from Kensington Blue on, it looks like follow. Other Rangers forums are available. He says in his post, as unbiased as I can be, this is how I see the combined 11 of Celtic and Rangers. Butland in goals, Tavernier, Carter Vickers, John Suter, Yilmaz is a back four. Connor Barron, Callum McGregor, Rio Hitati, Cherny, Kyogo and Kuhn up top. He says 6-5 in our favour. Of course, you can argue some are pretty borderline, and you can probably make a good case for 6-5 in their favour, but it's splitting hairs. We're not that far off. Miff, what's going on there?
Go and read that again.
I can't, it takes too
Team.
long.
What
Tavernier's
was the
in it.
front three?
Cherny, Kuhn, Kyogo.
Have
So
they
take
no
Maida.
watched? Have they no watched?
Aye.
What Maida did to them?
Aye.
All of that.
And I've got Tavernier in the team as well.
The guy
that
that they
guy.
slag relentlessly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to debate the team here or just answer the question that's been put to us. How accurate is this bear on a scale of 1 to 10?
That bear has obviously helped himself to the cans before he's went on to the went on to the forum. But listen, ultimately that is very much the reason why Rangers are in the mess they're in. They love mediocrity.
Yep.
And let it long may it continue.
Can't fix it till you
and
want it.
they've got this wee thing with Barron as well, who I actually think's a good. I do think Barron's a good player. As I said, I seen him playing for Scotland under 21s. I thought he looked a cracking player. Somebody, you know, as far as Celtic go, that we could have worked with at that time. I then seen that he wasn't playing regularly for Aberdeen. He's went there, and I think because he's somebody that runs a bit in tackles, they're just quite happy with that. Like I say, I do think he will be a good player in time, but our midfield is so beyond anything in the domestic game that's a nonsense.
Paddy, do you think any of the Rangers players that have been included are justified?
No,
The goalie?
absolutely not.
Oh,
Schmeichel.
He's
better?
rotten.
All right.
He's rotten.
Low and to the
Is it?
left.
Aye, Hoydie made
to
that
the
call. He's got it spot on. I think he had a decent season for them last year. But ultimately, if you get Panenka at home, then that's it. You should give up.
I don't think.
You get
Listen,
Panenka out England number one.
I don't think we Butland. I think Butland's a good keeper. But I think Schmeichel's very good.
Yeah.
Aye.
Border non-exception, especially for his age. The enthusiasm he still retains, and
Absolutely.
ability he still retains. No, that's nonsense.
Nah, I mean,
Nonsense.
I seen Asim saying on Twitter that Czerny would get a shot.
No, absolutely not.
Maybe on the bench.
I was going to say, he'd get minutes off the bench. He
Maybe off
wouldn't
the
be
bench
starting.
kind of thing, because we need to improve in that area kind of thing, but he's not taking any of our wingers out, no chance.
What about our left back area?
You must hardly place for him.
I know. That's what I'm asking.
And also, I think he's equivalent height to me.
Aye. Still a good player, John.
It
Alright.
can happen. It can happen.
So, you're not having it?
No.
Not having it? Not having it?
Delete the tweet. That bit that says we're not that far away. You're 9 points away.
Aye.
So there you go. There is your answer
And
there.
there's a team in between. you and us.
Exactly. Like mental chat.
Well, I think what Rangers will be kind of grasping on is that last year they clawed back an equivalent gap, but at this time last year you felt come in with a bit of momentum. Now it feels like I would actually argue the majority of fans are against them.
Aye.
I think up until maybe a few weeks ago they were actually
Aberdeen.
50-50.
Pittodrie.
But not only that, it's performance.
Aye.
It's not
Yeah.
just results. It's performance. I think they're finding it a difficult watch
watch.
every single week, and as a result of that, that's what's turning the sentiment really against them. So,
And then
Aye.
you get Goldson coming out and turning the screw even more. Just
More
a bit.
of that, please.
Excellent.
Aye.
when was that? Sorry, I
Tell
missed
us
this.
about your COVID
Was
tests.
this on Blue Sky? I missed it.
No.
It's in the record.
He got an interview with the record, basically saying the club's not been run the same since Gerrard left.
And that's madness. You know?
Thinking about it.
Yep.
No,
but his record's nothing to shout about.
true. I mean, the real worry is, from their point of view, Celtic are looking really strong and only going to get stronger. I think this Celtic side have got levels to go.
We'll sign players in January.
True.
100%.
They can't afford to. And I also think they're at a point where if anyone turns up, I mean anybody, and has a go at Rangers at the moment, they're fragile.
Aye.
I just think that's the way it goes. Listen, we'll find out for sure. 15th of December, League Cup final. Thanks to everyone who's replied on the socials with their questions this week. If you want us to cover your question on a future show, then you can do so in one of two ways. Visit our website at thecelticexchange.com. Click the send voicemail button on the bottom right corner of the page, where you can simply leave your question as a voice clip, or simply email me, Tino, at thecelticexchange.com. Okay, let's take another short break. When we come back, we'll play this week's Mystery Goal Scorer. Welcome back. Let's begin the final section of the show, as always, by playing Name the Goal Scorer. You all know the rules by now. We'll play a clip from a notable Celtic goal, but the goal scorer's name has been beeped out from commentary, and all you need to do is name the goal scorer in question. Before we kick on, let's reveal last week's answer by playing the clip in full.
Juranovic against Radetsky. Oh, how is your nerve, Josip Juranovic? Nonchalant from the Croatian, and Celtic are level in Germany. to not only go for the Panenka, but to kiss it off the underside of the bar, John Hartson. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Oh, lovely boy.
Juranovic with the Panenka.
With the Panenka.
That was great.
John absolutely loved it. Mif, you mentioned how big a fan you were of Juranovic, and goals like that are a reason why.
Just to, to use a West of Scotland term, very gallus. Just love him.
Close. That was a close one.
Love him. But again, it just makes you think back. We kind of knew just at that time, even though the results maybe never went our way, we were onto something.
Yeah, so the goal in question, Europa League, 21st of November 2021, Bayer Leverkusen 2, Celtic 3. We were there. Were you there?
Aye.
Aye. Were you with us?
I
They all blend into one.
was with you before and after.
Right, okay.
I burnt my hand that night with my thumb.
Did we win 3-2?
No,
No. Did I say that?
Aye.
Sorry, I can see it right in front of me. I've written that. That's wrong.
Aye.
Bayer Leverkusen 3,
Nobody
Celtic.
will know.
He also said we drew to each with Atalanta.
Yes. I get stick for that. I get stick for that.
A lot going on.
These guys don't know anything about Celtic.
They're on to us.
They're not wrong.
I burnt my hand that night. I picked up a flare that had not been lit.
Not your flare.
Not mine. No. Not mine. It had not been lit, but the catch to pull it off and light it, not that I would know, was broken off it. So somebody was standing with a lighter and I decided just to use the lighter at the top of it and it just went straight onto my thumb. And I was very, very, very drunk in Johnny Walker. So I didn't really feel it at the point, but the next day, agony.
You know what they say, Paddy? Play with fire. And
I know.
all that stuff.
I know the club will be listening now. It wasn't in the stadium.
James, that game was good for a number of reasons. It was Ange's first season, a lot of excitement around, and not only did Celtic equalise, then going to take the lead with one of the best Celtic goals in a long time. It's that breakaway goal where I think Joe Hart fires it out to James Forrest on the right. Forrest kind of backheels it into the middle of the park. Beaton's in the mix somewhere, it kind of breaks, and all of a sudden it's with Jota, who's got a bit of work to do, and he smashes it. And I think that's when he done his wee celebration, where he's kind of sitting, meditating or whatever it was. And it was a brilliant moment. We were in the corner where Jota goes to celebrate. Paddy, there was currywurst and beer everywhere, which is one of the highlights of these German games. But what a buzz!
An incredible stadium as well. I really like that, the Bayer Arena. Great atmosphere that night, and I just. We didn't expect it. We've not kind of done that in Europe in a long time, and just especially with that team, as we've spoke about, like the early stages of it, and it was a great goal, great team goal.
Brilliant. And to go back to Juranovic, it's just the composure at that point. I don't know what Andrew would have said to them. Missed that 1-0 down, just approaching half time, and to have the quality and the savvy to do that. We didn't qualify for the group. We finished third behind Leverkusen and Betis, and Ferencváros were fourth. So we get the playoff and we end up going to play Bodo Glimt in the Conference League, but that didn't quite work out.
I think Ange knew we didn't have it. We didn't have the squad for it, and just realised it was going to be a tough game, and there's no point putting the resources into that when we've got to dig into the league here. It was going to be tough.
You could tell with that team for the second leg, he was like, no, that's not a priority.
Yeah.
Just on that then, I've got the team in front of me that played against Leverkusen that night. Do you want to try and name the back four?
Juranovic.
Where?
Right back.
No.
Left.
What? Was Ralston right back?
Yep.
Jeez. Welsh
Yep.
and Starfelt.
Carter Vickers.
Carter Vickers.
So that's your four. You then had Beaton sitting in front with David Turnbull and Callum McGregor alongside him.
The Bill.
James Forrest, Kyogo and Jota.
James A.
So, some talented players in there, and some players that generally wouldn't start if everyone was fit. On the bench, you had Albin Ayeti, Leah Labada, James McCarthy, Mikey Johnson, and then all four of them come on.
Every week.
I always find a way. Did you see him set up a goal for Ireland last week?
Did you see the
Did you see the tweet?
No.
Oh.
Ireland tweeted Jinky Johnson.
Aye, that's not his fault. That's not Mikey's fault. Mikey wouldn't do that.
I seen it because it was on X/Twitter.
Got you.
Blue Sky.
Other guys on the bench, just to highlight Celtic squad depth at that moment in time, or lack of. So unused subs: Scales, Sorrow, Uragide, Scott Bain, Liam Shaw, Dane Murray, Adam Montgomery, Toby Oluwayemi, sub goalie. So we were thin on the ground, and I think it came to pass that Bodo fans were disappointed. Ange might not have been too disappointed because it allowed us to focus on the league. So
You wouldn't have that any other way.
yeah, so that's the way that all played out. Let's take a listen to this week's mystery goal scorer.
Brown inside to Samaras. Samaras has got Ledley in the centre of midfield. Ledley can just play the ball out to the left hand side. He plays it to Stokes in the inside left channel. Anthony Stokes. Still Stokes, he's inside the box. It's still Stokes. Plays it back.
I know it is.
Unbelievable! An extra time! Oh, one of the Champions League group stages!
If you asked for Tom Boyd, you got Tom Boyd. So excited with Tom Boyd with Paul Cuddihy on Celtic TV. I'll beep out the answer, but I think you've got it. You're going with? Yes, spot on. We'll cover that in a bit more detail next week. We'll also share the clip on social media for anyone who wants to have a go there. To see out the show, now that the international break's done for, as I say, another 4 months, Celtic have got a relentless run of fixtures between now and the turn of the year. Brendan Rodgers described as an absolute ultra-marathon of fixtures, and you can see why. There's 10 games. I'm going to rattle through them just very quickly to give us all an idea. So, coming up, Saturday night, time capsule, 7:45. What could possibly go wrong there? Hearts away in the league. We're then Bruges on the 27th of November, home Champions League. 30th November, home to Ross County in the league. 4th of December, away to Pittodrie in the league. That'll be interesting. We might begin up, maybe, so, TBC. 7th of December, Hibs at home in the league. 10th of December, Dynamo Zagreb away, Champions League. 15th of December, the aforementioned League Cup final with Rangers at Hampden. 22nd of December, Dundee United away. 26th of December, Boxing Day, Motherwell at home. And rounding off the year on the 29th of December, St Johnstone at home in the league. Paddy, some real tough fixtures for a variety of reasons there. How well prepped are we heading into them?
I think we're in a really good position. As I say, hopefully we come out of tonight's fixtures with a full clean bill of health. But we need to be clever about it. We need to make sure that the rotation is going to be a big part of this. I think that from what we can tell already is that they are looking to manage Carter Vickers, and I think that's massive for us because he's colossal for us at the back. But what is good to see is obviously we've seen what Trusty has brought to the table. We've seen that Liam Scales has had a good bit of form at the beginning of this season. And we've seen Greg Taylor come back in again as well. And I think that when you've got that rotation in your back line, I'm okay with that coming into a run of 10 games. 5 in the midfield, I'm happy with that as well. I trust all 5 that are coming in and out as well. It's the wide areas. I think if we lose the depth, that's the big one there, and especially obviously the big man that's on the screen, Ida, he's not been at the races so far this season. Scored some important goals still, but I think that I'd be hoping that he gets himself up to a good level of fitness, and I think that break out the international team will really have helped him to get up to speed and be ready for this run into, because Kyogo can't do all of that himself. No chance. Yeah,
I've got to agree. James, this is where smart squad rotation by Brendan Rodgers has to come into play, and to an extent as well, you need to hope for a wee bit of luck in terms of injuries and suspensions.
Yeah, I think we've seen a bit of the rotation already these last few weeks, and I think that'll go on. Key to the being able to do that is to get games dealt with early doors, not be taking 60, 70 minutes to put a game to bed. Get out there early, get a strong lead, and then rotate guys off the bench, because that run that'll take a toll. There's no way you come through that without some level of injuries. It's just part and parcel of playing a physical game, so we just need to manage it as best we can.
Just while I remember, actually, so there's been a bit of chat in recent weeks about Daniel Cummins, the young lad scoring all the goals for Celtic B. I'm speaking tomorrow to Josh McCafferty. Some folk will know Josh from Twitter. Don't know if he's on Blue Sky yet, Mif. In fact, I do know he is on it. He generally covers youth players and loan players, or that's part of what he does. He does writing and some different things for Celtic here. So Josh and I are recording tomorrow, Tuesday, and we're going to cover quite a bit of that side of things for Celtic. Are you excited at the prospect of a young local talent coming through and playing a part?
Absolutely. I think as fans that's something that probably excites us as much as anything else, is youth players coming through. It's been so long since we had a striker. Tony Watt's probably the last one. Jack Aitchison maybe.
And Tony Watt was through Motherwell. Airdrie first, and we signed him from there.
Signed him. Jack Aitchison, youngest ever goal scorer. When Dyla gave him his debut, it didn't quite kick on after that. But again, opportunities are key. Getting opportunities is the key, and we run a fixtures like that, and somebody that's in form, that's when you try to use. It's the perfect time to try and use them, even just to get them in squads, get them on the bench, get them coming off the bench for a bit of experience.
If I've rattled through those 10 games, and interesting challenges for a variety of reasons, but what fixtures stand out for you out of them?
Well, I think first and foremost the Hearts fixture, is going to Tynecastle is always a potential banana skin for us. actually quite probable would drop points at Tynecastle just because of their record against us. I know they obviously raised their game against us last season there. We had a lot of things go against us as well, specifically the red card and the penalty. But yeah, I think we just need to break it down into small chunks and make sure that we get through each game. Try and rotate the squad as best as we can. I think this is where Luke McCowan will play a really big role for me personally. I think he's got the energy, the drive and the skill where he can step into any of the midfield three positions and perform with credit.
Paddy, this is a bold statement, but I don't say it with any arrogance, and I'm not saying they definitely will, but Celtic can win all 10 of these games, and I include Bruges at home and Zagreb away in the Champions League, as well as that League Cup final. Whether it plays out like that or not, I don't know, but that's got to be the target for this group, as they plan ahead for these 10 fixtures.
100% it will be the target, I think, with the manager's mindset in it, and especially the potential if we go and win the two Champions League games.
1-1.
1-1, but obviously if you get the second one, you're 1-1 away from automatic. So I think that that is the carrot at the end of the stick to lead them into this. But it's all about the squad management, because there's no winter break this time as well. So the games come thick and fast in January as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we actually start seeing, and I would hope that we start seeing potential transfer rumours start to ramp up a bit in December too. And maybe that way we got the 3 players in under Ange at the 1st of January. I'd love to see something like that for Celtic as well, just to increase that squad depth.
I've seen a fair bit of chat about Lennon Miller.
I've been seeing that.
Signing loan back.
Signing loan back, aye.
My gut feeling on it is that Lennon Miller's already decided his future lies beyond Scotland. I just think he would have gone to either Celtic or Rangers. I don't know what way he leans in terms of that kind of side of things, or if that comes into his thinking, or if he just wants to further himself. But it just doesn't seem to be something that's on the radar for Celtic. There's nothing official, there's lots of rumours, but I'm not sure if there's anything to them. And
listen, good luck to him if he does. I'm not opposed to players going and trying the continent. I hate the ones that maybe just always go down and disappear in England, but we've seen the success of the players going over to Italy.
Italy's the big...
I think he'd be the one that got away for us personally. I think he always plays very well against us. I would imagine that the Celtic midfield, when they're going back into the changing room, would be suggesting that the manager is somebody we could be doing.
And the manager's mentioned him, quoted him in some of his post-match stuff recently. I'd be amazed if Celtic haven't inquired about him, but it's whether he's interested or not. The very fact for me though that he, at 18 years of age, captained Rangers in the league, captained Motherwell against Rangers in the League Cup semi-final recently there, that says a lot about the faith the manager and probably the whole group have got in him. I think he's a real talent, a serious talent. I'd love Celtic to get him, but what I would hate is if Celtic do get him and stick him into B-team subs bench, subs bench, starting the odd game. I'd hate to see that for any young talented player. So I hope Celtic, if they do sign him, they sign him with a clear pathway to...
I think he's played too much first team football for that to be the case. So hence why, if there was any deal, it would be on the proviso that he would still play somewhere for a season before he actually joined the squad. That's what I would suspect anyway.
There might be a loan that develops him better than a loan back to Motherwell, for example. But he sounds really well advised with his agents, but his dad seems to be kind of head on his shoulders and stuff like that, so seems to be well guided in that way. His
dad's got links to Aberdeen as well. Maybe a loan there.
We'll see what happens, but a talented player. We'll see if Celtic run from him.
Finish league strong, you mean?
10 tough fixtures though, as we say, and starting with a Saturday night kick-off, 7:45 at Tynecastle, so we'll look forward to that one and we'll see how it all plays out. Just a quick shout out as we're heading towards the end of the show to Gary and his son James. They're St Mirren fans who I met on Saturday night at a Liverpool event that the Anfield Wrap were putting on in Glasgow. Great to see them. We got chatting. We were on their radar because of the Battle to Save Celtic stuff. They'd caught a bit of that, and he was very complimentary of your lads and everything we do at the show. So great to meet them. Hope they enjoyed the rest of their night. Also a massive good luck to John Attenborough and his guide dog Sam, who are at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Thursday of this week. They're there for the Football Content Awards. They're nominated in the Diversity and Inclusion category. Myself and Bridal were with John and Sam at the Celtic Women's game against Chelsea on Wednesday. Great to catch up with them there. So good luck to John and Sam on Thursday. Paddy, I'll come to you first for your final comments for the week.
Gets about, didn't he?
Busy boy. A busy boy.
Busy, Mif. Networking, mate.
Networking. I love it. I think, just happy to get the bread and butter back. I think Saturday, as Mif said, I think it's a very, very tough game for us. I think be ready for it. I think the players that will have been still around Lennoxtown the last couple of weeks will be happy to get their pals back, and let's look forward to what's going to come on Saturday. There's a real unity with this team at the moment, and I think that we should keep keep continuing on that. I think, like, I'm always one for international breaks coming at the wrong time and really stopping the momentum. But I actually feel that the breaks have came at the right times for Celtic this season, and it just gets that excitement back up. It gets the eagerness ready for those that have been waiting for the international break to finish. But those players coming back in, it's another bit of energy for them to go and push. And I think the Big 10 games. But I'm with you. I think that we will be looking to win every single one.
Here's hoping. You'll have Nicholas Kuhn absolutely raring to go. He'll have been kicking his heels the last, 7-10 days or so, and he'll be firing, as a lot of them will be, for Tynecastle. James, your own final thoughts for the week?
Yeah, funny if it's the Tynecastle thing that excites me most. What a game to come back to. Not just Tynecastle, 8:15, Saturday night. What time are you getting up?
You'll be 2.5 cans in by then.
Aye.
Not for you?
No, I'm not going.
500 tickets.
I think that nonsense has to stop, as we've discussed before. But just, I think we'll come out flying. I don't see it being anything like last season. I think Hearts will improve on where they are, but they're a world away from where we are, and I think we're flying.
Really surprised that you've been overly confident approaching a Celtic game.
It's just very positive person.
Anything like the game against them in October last year, we ran away with it in the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that would be excellent.
Aye,
that would be fantastic.
One to look forward to. Mif, final word goes to you.
Well, Saturday's a big game because you just like to get it right up the jambos. Let's be quite honest. It's just really that simple. So hopeful on that score, but it's just such a great time to be a Celtic fan with these games that are coming up. Getting into games in Europe where it means something, where we're competing, and we know. And I see a lot of the established clubs fans moaning about the new format because it's we don't get to go back and play over 2 legs. And you know, the established elite are obviously they've probably treated the tournament with a wee bit of contempt because they think, we'll get the wins eventually just to get us through. And they might be leaving it too late because they might be coming. There's so much still to play for so late in the tournament, rather than having all these dead rubbers with 2 weeks to go. I just think it's created a huge level of intrigue, and we've benefited from, you know, what you could arguably say is a favourable draw compared to what others have faced.
Definitely.
But it's up to us to take the chance on it. So we've put ourselves in a brilliant position. If we keep up the form that we've shown, it's going to continue to be a very exciting winter for Celtic fans.
Yeah, exciting 10 games ahead, starting on Saturday night through in Edinburgh. So that wraps things up on this latest Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James, Paddy and Mif, and thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back on Friday of this week with the countdown to kick-off ahead of that Hearts game at Tynecastle. And remember to check out the show notes for how you can support the Celtic Exchange this season. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.